everyone. It's Jim Lowenstern, your host this week on the eXponential Files. We have a very interesting show coming up. We have Kelly Robinson from the Kelly Robinson team of Compass. We're sort of taking a sidestep from EXP for the first time and delving into her business and what makes it unique in the industry and perhaps the New York market. Welcome, Kelly. How are you doing today?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. So let's just start off with basic questions for the viewers. How many years have you been in the business? How many years with Compass? Where were you before Compass, if you were anywhere, etc.? And why Compass?
Yeah, so I've been in the business for 18 years as of June, and I've been with Compass for seven of those years. I started out running around, sweating, doing rentals in New York City at City Habitats in 2005, and then I quickly realized that I needed to join a team in order to break into sales and not be so sweaty. But
what's Habitat?
City Habitats was like a big rental firm in the city. That's where everybody starts out. That's where everybody starts out. So I did that for a year, and then I moved over to Douglas Elliman and worked on a team there for 4 years, and then worked on another team after that for 2 years. And then I went to a firm called Town, which was around for a couple of years. About 2 years before they folded, I moved to a boutique called Core. At the time, I was between Compass and Core. I chose Core. And Rob Refkin at Compass was calling me every week saying, Kelly, come see what we've done. Come see what we've done. And so finally I was like, fine, just so you stop calling me, I'll come and see what you've done. And I was blown away by what they had achieved in about a year and a half. And so I just felt like, okay, I don't want to move again, but I need to be here.
Okay, so what did he do that impressed you?
Just the technology and the working for the agents instead of just working for the clients, because the agents really know what the clients need, and if you work for the agents, then inevitably you're working for the clients.
Okay. Can you talk about the technology that impressed you?
Yeah, I mean, really a lot of the artificial intelligence and just the beauty of the collections that you can send to your buyers and sellers. I send collections to sellers too of homes that are comparable to theirs, so that they can watch the market in real time. And the way that you can interact within the platform is very easy. It's easy to keep all of your notes and your messages to each other in one place, and save and discard things and add things on your own. And then their artificial intelligence and the way that you can see who's looking at what. Even if they're telling you they're looking for one thing, you can see that they're looking at other things, and that really helps you to pivot if you have to. So that's just one example. But the technology and the branding, and just really also him as a person. He's a very ethical person, and as you know from being an industry veteran yourself, it's hard to find that at the top of a firm in this industry. So I really appreciated his ethics and his genuine care for the agents.
Okay. Do you think that are you in Manhattan? Would you say?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you think that New York City is an unusual real estate market?
100%. It's a completely different animal.
Why is it?
I mean, aside from the fact that we are such a melting pot and we've got such an international business, we have 70 something percent of our properties for sale are cooperatives. And there is a rigorous application process, and it's not a sure thing. You could wait 3 months to get denied and not be told why. So you really have to be creative, and you have to be very dedicated to making sure that a buyer's purchase application, or the buyer for your seller's purchase application, is bulletproof. And deals tend to close in 60 to 90 days here on average.
So co-ops, that puts a whole nother level of stress into your working environment
Yeah.
and your business model. Um, how do how do you make your offer bulletproof, as you said?
So, well, with from starting with the offer, co-ops have standard requirements, and these are just the basics. These are your basic co-ops, where they want to see a buyer who's got no more than a 25% debt to income ratio. So your monthly pre-tax income should be no more than 25% of your monthly carrying costs, and they want to see post closing liquidity of at least 2 years worth of those costs. Now, that's the basic co-ops. You've got buildings on Park Avenue, on Fifth Avenue, on Central Park West that they do not allow people to finance at all. They want to see multiple times the purchase price in closing in post-closing liquidity. And I think most importantly, to pass a co-op board, you have to be really strong financially, and you need to have phenomenal reference letters. And you're going to have to show your tax returns. You're going to have to show your bank statements. You're going to have to give your firstborn child. It's a rite of passage. And condos are doing it now too. It's just the difference is that they have the right of first refusal, whereas co-ops can turn you down and they don't have to give you a reason. And we're fighting to have laws passed that make it illegal for them to withhold a reason.
It sounds like legal discrimination, right?
Yeah, I mean, they don't have to tell you why, and it really could. I think there are some cases where there's discrimination for sure.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about company brands, and I mean, obviously, Compass didn't exist, and now it's a brand in Manhattan. But you said in a previous conversation with me that it's difficult for new brands to break into New York. Why do you think that is?
It's difficult for a lot of brands, even established brands, to break into New York. New York has these long-standing firms like Douglas Elliman and Corcoran and Brown Harris Stevens that have just, eaten up the market share. And it's really hard if you don't have those brands behind you to break in. I mean, you've got a lot of big companies that just haven't done as well here, like Keller Williams or Ravies or Caldwell Banker. And
Why do you think that is?
I think here you have to have a little bit of a different business model. Your branding has to be very luxurious and clean, and you've got to have more technology in these days. I mean, up until Compass came into the market, and then up until the pandemic happened, which changed a lot of things to virtual, real estate industry was so antiquated. I mean, everything was antiquated. And I remember when I got into the business in 2005, people were still using the Rolodexes and going through each other's trash to try and find leads, which I thought was crazy. But now it's so much more.
I don't know what kind of people you're working with.
Oh God.
I haven't used a Rolodex for,
yeah.
well, I'm going to date myself a little bit, but probably since 1995.
Well, they were using them in 2005 still, some people.
And I've never gone through the trash looking for a lead.
You don't tell.
Maybe I should. I don't know. I've got a Coldwell Banker office next to me. Maybe I should look in the dumpster.
Nothing's on paper anymore, but I can't picture you
Sure.
doing something like that. I think you're much more ethical than that.
I just don't have the time.
Well, that too. Yeah. You never know what you're going to find in the trash, but I think it's hard. I think it's similar to why Zillow had a hard time breaking into the New York City market. They bought Street Easy because they just couldn't make their mark in Manhattan, especially. And Street Easy had gathered all of the data and, closing data for up until, probably 10 years ago, or maybe a little more. for co-ops, which is the majority of the properties, wasn't available. Closed sale data wasn't available. And it's hard to do your comps when you don't, and make offers when you don't have the history. And StreetEasy was collecting all of that data and making it public.
Okay, so you've gone from, I think you said Habitat,
City habitats to
City
Element
Habitat to Element
to Town to
to-
Core.
to Town to Core to Compass.
And now I'm done.
Now you're done.
I'm
Okay.
done.
So let's talk about, let's see how much you will reveal.
Okay.
We're gonna play a little game here.
Okay.
It's your business, right? Is Compass the brand, or is Kelly Robinson or the Kelly Robinson team the actual brand?
So the Kelly Robinson team is the actual brand, but we have Compass behind us, and that just elevates us. Short
Okay.
answer.
That is a very short answer.
Yeah.
So
Good. You know, I find when I tell people that I with Compass, they're all like, "Oh, tell me more about." People are very interested.
okay. So they say, tell me what do they say?
They're usually intrigued. They want to know more about the technology. They want to know, they're excited about it, even if they don't ask questions. And then,
Okay.
they start using the technology and they love it.
Okay. Oh, these are the clients.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just people in passing too are very interested.
Are you allowed to say what your split is?
What my split is, I'm over a 70% split. Standard for the highest split in Manhattan at most of the large firms is 70. I'm above that.
And no cap, right? There's no going to 100%
No.
Nothing like that.
No, because you get so many resources, and to be honest with you, I would rather pay for the resources because we get so many of them. And even my dedicated marketing person that Compass gives me is unbelievable. I couldn't live without her.
Well, that's
yeah,
a big deal.
yeah.
You get them 40 hours a week and they pay for it.
I mean, I feel like I get her 40 hours a week. She does work for another one or two agents, but it feels like she just works for me. And she just, the way the marketing team, really I mean, they do things for my podcast. Compass pays for it. They do things, and they're, unlike other firms that I've worked at, they're not kids right out of college. Not that that's a bad thing. Kids out of college are extremely savvy. I hire tons of interns every year, but they come from companies like Condé Nast, from Ogilvy. They really have experience in these industries, and it makes a difference.
Let's talk about the podcast. What's it called, and what do you do? Why do you do it? And how many episodes have you done? Things like that.
So the podcast is fairly new. I just launched it this year. It's called Kelly Minds Her Manners, manners with an O like Holmes, just a little play on words. And it is about real estate and entrepreneurship. And I started it selfishly because I really like to hear people's stories of success and also failure, and how their failures led to their successes. And I want to inspire other people with those stories. For example, I've had, founder of a very big travel company and website on my podcast, and he was very vulnerable about his past failures, as well as his struggle in the past with bipolar disorder. And I loved that he was so open, because there are so many people out there who think, okay, if I have this stigmatized mental illness, maybe I'm never going to go anywhere in life and I should give up. And look what he's done. And he's overcome this without medication and other things. So just inspiring things like that. Also it just helps me to get back in touch with my clients. A lot of my guests are clients of mine and contacts of mine. So it's just good to further build those relationships. And I love learning more about them. I've
Cool.
done 21 episodes.
Very nice. So, what do you think of this business in terms of working towards a retirement, or do you just imagine that there's just no way to retire, or that you would never want to retire?
Well, I think it's important for every agent to have an IRA. Open up an IRA and just put a little bit of money, whatever it is, even if it's like $100 a week, just set it aside, automatically have it go into your IRA. That's number one. Number two, yes, I have thought about it. There are other companies out there that will brand you into your own company and will give you a valuation so that you can later sell your company instead of selling your book of business down the road. I think I will probably pass my business down to my team and perhaps take a cut of that forever. But I don't know if I'm ever going to stop working, Jim. I love what I do. What about you?
It's a loaded question.
Yeah.
I built a good sized business and had multiple offices and 70 agents. And what brought me to eXp Realty was the fact that I went from a few different business models. One may have been just an aggressive traditional,
Hmm.
and then I actually was looking more for growth. So I looked at different recruitment models.
Yeah.
And when I started using, I actually sort of morphed from the exit 10% unilevel
Mm.
payout to the EXP payout, because I think exit was paying too much, and
Mm.
then it was only one level.
Right.
And
Okay.
and the agents were saying, gee, but if I recruit someone and they recruit someone, shouldn't I get something from them? And then it was 3.5% versus 10%.
Mm.
And then when I started using it, my business just doubled year over year for about 3 years.
That's
And then
awesome.
I just said, well, what am I doing? I keep
Yeah.
doubling every year. You know, do I do it myself, or do I just join them? So
Yeah.
and then with retirement, I don't know if it becomes more fun and less work in some ways.
Yeah.
Like, this company does all the unfun stuff for me,
Yeah.
whereas I was doing all the unfun stuff all the time.
Yeah.
That was a big difference. So
I hear
it
you.
was the leverage of time and the leverage of potential income.
Absolutely. Well, and you've done extraordinarily well, and it's incredible the type of business that you've built and the size of the team that you've built.
Yeah, we added about 100 people this week.
Wow.
Just one week. We went
Oh my
over
gosh.
800. I think we were like at like 650 or something like 2 weeks ago, and we're
Wow.
eight,
Congratulations.
809 or something like that in the last hour. Yeah, I actually told my virtual assistant to put on the brakes, just slow it down. Slow it down.
Yeah. It's nice when you have to do that, right?
I never had to do it before, so I don't know. I don't know if it's nice or not nice. It just seemed to be the thing to do.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah.
So you love a lot of about Compass, and I have to ask, what don't you love?
What don't I love? There's really not much I don't love about Compass, and that's actually shocking because at every other firm I was at, I always
Stock price?
felt like
Do you
well,
love that?
yes, the stock price I don't love, no. And luckily
Sorry, I had to
no,
ask.
I completely hear you, and luckily I cashed out when I did. But yeah, I guess that would be it, the stock price. But the support that we get is just incomparable to any past experience of mine. And just the collaborative atmosphere. I really appreciate that because, some of the other places that I've worked were more cutthroat and competitive, whereas people genuinely, for the most part, I mean, they're, with such a big company, there's always going to be one or two, right? It's inevitable. But I feel like people genuinely want to help each other out and collaborate. And I really love that because working together is so much better than being at each other's throats.
Yeah, well, in general, that's the golden rule,
Yeah.
and we're all realtors, and that's that's a big part of what makes this industry so unique. We're competitors, but at the same time, we collaborate and share information and cooperate with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's how
We're
it should
very
be.
we're very odd people.
We are, aren't we? We have to be to do this job, Jim.
Yep.
We have to be a little off, right? And I think the one other thing that I really enjoy is that, they have, specific divisions for niches, one of which I'm in. And that's really, it's like it's having like a family within the bigger company that you
And
really
that's
build
sports and
relationships.
entertainment.
Yes, I'm in the sports and entertainment division at Compass. And it's great because it's, about 150 agents all over the country. And we all know that we have this niche and that each of the other members of the division have been very, very seriously vetted. And we know that we can refer business back and forth and that our clients will be taken care of. So it's really nice that we've become like a little family.
Yeah, I'm looking at EXP, so we're gonna just do a comparison. How many at 150? Okay, so our sports and entertainment group is, I guess I'm a member of it, 263.
Okay. Yeah, that's big. We
So,
try to keep ours small,
well,
but yeah.
how many agents does Compass have total?
Now, I mean, I think it's at least 20 something thousand.
Okay, yeah, and we have 88,000, so
Yeah,
that's
you're big.
probably
You're
why.
much bigger.
Okay, so enough of that. Team. How big do you want to grow your team? Are you happy with the size right now, or do you want to expand into other states, or is Compass in other countries yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Is there talk of that?
Yes, there is. Hopefully by 2024, we should be in a few other countries. So I have a team. We're eight. There are 8 of us. 7 of us are agents. I'm a broker, and we have a director of operations. In addition to that 8, I have 6 interns right now. I also have a VA. So it's good. I like the size of the team. I feel like it's manageable right now.
6 interns. I can't even imagine what kind of logistical nightmare that is to manage 6.
Oh, it's not at all. It's great.
I have 2 or 3 at a time, and
That's enough.
maybe 3 more than I need. Yeah, I mean, and a VA and some other admins, but how do you manage 6? Or do you just have somebody, you have a manager to manage 6?
I have the director of operations who's a magician, and thank God I found her because I had some duds before. It's always hard to find a good, admin person, and she's just unbelievable. She can manage everything, and then she asks if there's more she can do. I don't know how she does it, but she helps to manage them. Also it depends on what they're working on, right? Whether they report directly to me, whether they're also working with other team members, whether they're working with my podcast editors, so I don't find it hard to manage, to be honest. There are days when I get a million text messages and 30,000 emails and it's a little stressful, but I think, compartmentalizing things and having a schedule and a plan as much as you can in this industry is important. That helps with that.
If you could change all the rules, throw away all the restrictions, and work differently? What would you like to change in terms of the structure of the industry or your business or even Compass for that matter?
Well, as far as the industry is concerned, I would like to see it become harder to get your real estate license. I think that there need to be more background checks on people, and I think that you need to, I mean, we do a lot of education and continuing education, but I do think it should be harder, and that you should have be tested not just on the law and those types of things, but more on real life potential experience, potential situations. Um, think that there needs to be less of a tolerance for some of the behavior that occurs that gives brokers the stigma that we have,
Like
you
what
know.
kind of behavior besides the dumpster diving that you're talking about? Because I
You
mean,
know,
no, but seriously, the buyers and sellers, they don't care. Oh, you got my number out of the dumpster. Well, no, first of all, no broker is going to admit it.
right.
They just want, either the most aggressive broker to get them the price they want or the property they want. So a little dumpster diving for them that's
Yeah.
fine.
Oh
They'd
no, I
applaud
mean,
it.
yeah, no, I mean, some people do. I'm not really talking about that more as much as I'm talking about, I'll give you an example. So I posted a little post on my Instagram a couple of weeks ago about why it may not be the best idea to come in at full asking price as your first offer. And a lot of it had to do with psychology behind the fact that many times a buyer and seller are much more satisfied when they don't get their asking price right away, because then they're not thinking, oh, did I price it high enough and whatnot, and a bunch of other things, a bunch of other reasons why. And I got a response from another agent that said, do you want that to get them to get the house? No. If you want them to get the house, then you offer above the asking price, no contingencies, no inspection, no nothing. And, you know, in some situations, if you're a cash buyer, or if you have the cash to go non-contingent on financing or what have you, then by all means. If you're in a multiple bid situation, by all means. However, I've won multiple bid situations for buyers without being the highest price, and it being based on terms and other things, qualifications. But it just made me a little bit sick, because some people will tell somebody that they know for a fact is not financially qualified, doesn't have the means to lose their deposit in that situation, and won't think empathetically about what they're advising that client to do. So that's where I would like things to be a little bit more difficult.
Yes, I don't disagree. But now how do you regulate that? How do you incorporate that into the licensing and the license renewal process? It can't just be continuing education where you give
Right.
a 2-hour lecture on morality and
Yeah.
ethical behavior, because it's going to go in one ear and out the other.
Maybe there just needs to be more of a zero tolerance policy type of a thing in place. I don't know.
I actually have a situation right now, family situation with a New York attorney, and this is supposedly beyond realtor ethics and stuff.
Mhm.
I have to file a complaint against them.
Oh
Their
no.
behavior is so egregious
Ugh.
that it's mind blowing. So it's not just real estate agents.
Oh no.
It's the world.
It is the world.
You just got a troll on your social media, and catch that same person on a different day. They're not going to respond, or they're going to say, "You go, Kelly."
You're absolutely right. And you know what? I've noticed that some people that I felt in the past in New York City were unethical, that wouldn't have normally been allowed to come over to Compass. You actually have to be vetted by, and they ask agents who have done deals with you how you are before you're allowed to come over to Compass. And there were a few people I was
I'm
like,
shaking. I'm shaking my head.
this is a little questionable. And you know what? They've changed. So you know what? Everybody deserves a second
Oh yeah.
chance.
Oh
But
yeah. I know some people that actually they're not at Compass now, but they didn't like Compass, and that's why they left.
yeah,
But the kind of agent that you would not say. Let's put it this way: if they asked me my opinion and I
yeah.
told them the truth, don't
I mean,
return
there's,
phone calls,
oh yeah,
not available ever.
yeah. I don't know how you run a business that way.
That kind. Well, I mean, good broker in that he was selling a lot of properties,
Right.
but it must have been by magic because I know that I pick up my calls almost always on the first ring, and you could be begging him for days,
Yeah.
please call me back.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
then I
that's,
got calls from other people. Can you please have them call me back?
yeah. No, there are a lot of people out there like that. I don't know how they do business. I think a lot of them hope you go away so the buyer or whoever comes and tries to find you on their own.
And if Compass has 20,000 agents or more,
Oh, of
you
course.
can't tell me that they're all superstars.
No, they're not. I mean, when it's a company gets that big, there's always going to be somebody. Of course there is. You can't monitor everybody when it's that big, but I do think they try to keep it as ethical as possible.
So some of those other companies like Town, um, Nest Seekers is still around, right? These are names that popped up on my Bravo watch list, $1 million listing or what have you, and all the drama that
Hmm.
they scripted into those shows is kind of
Yeah,
amusing.
it is.
So what happened to Town? You said it was there for 2 years and then poof.
It was there for more than 2 years. I think they were around for about 6 years. I was there for
Okay.
4 years, and I left because I just didn't feel like they were running their business properly, not in an unethical way, just in a, from a financial perspective. I thought that things started happening and I was a little bit suspect about them having the funds to keep going. And 2 years later, I was right.
Hmm. Interesting. What
Yeah.
what what sort of cracks in the wall did you notice?
Just more delays in getting paid and stuff like
Oh,
that. But before that, what I noticed was that, they really had a beautiful eye for design and branding. And I will say they did a beautiful job with their branding, and that's part of what got me there. But I kept saying to them, you're always rebranding, you're always throwing these $500,000 parties at Tao downtown. Like, spend your money on technology. That's what this industry needs. And they just kept rebranding and throwing their parties. And I just didn't, and putting an orchid on every single agent's desk and then a pumpkin on every single agent's desk. I mean, that's nice, but it's a waste of money,
well,
and then soon
it's a lot of pumpkins too.
yeah, it is. And then soon the candy started to disappear from the beautiful kitchen, communal areas, and all of the, cold cuts and everything they had for everybody started to disappear. And it
Well,
was
it's
just,
interesting that you mentioned that. Okay, so this gives me, I mean, coming back to EXP centric show, which this is, um, no overhead whatsoever.
yeah,
Interesting business model where they say you're going to have access to all the Regis offices, all the shared working offices. We're actually doing our own success spaces
hmm,
shared space franchise run by Tony Robbins' son, Jarek.
cool.
I mean, I have a branch office. You can get approved for branch offices. So I don't know how many, you know, I speak to agents, they go, oh yeah, EXP, it's a virtual company. well, a virtual company with like 10,000 locations around the world in 24 countries. So virtual is the technology
Right.
and all that. But you mentioned how the overhead became an issue for town. It became an issue for Compass. They had to close. I don't know which office. I don't know how many offices they have in Manhattan, but their world headquarters, they had to lease that out or get rid of it. It was too expensive, right?
I think they don't have any debt. I know that. But I think the pandemic did a lot to people, and I think they realized that not a lot of people were coming into the office
Well,
after the
that's my
pandemic.
question. How important are some of the things going back to town? And then talking about Compass, they got it. They may, maybe someone said to him, "Hey, why don't you do what Glenn Sanford at EXP is doing? He doesn't have any offices.
Yeah.
Glenn's office might be in his kitchen for all I know, and he's a billionaire. Maybe rethinking the way we all do business now anyway, because we all have supercomputers everywhere we go.
We do. It's interesting. I know that Compass is very focused on getting and the culture and getting people back to the office. In fact, Rob Ruffkin was on my podcast and he was saying one of the most important things right now is getting people back to the office and communicating in person again.
Hard to put the genie back in the bottle.
It is hard. I mean, I have a beautiful office and I redesigned it to get everybody back in, and I'm working from home myself, but I was working from home mostly before the pandemic. But it's true. It's people are more comfortable at home many times. I mean, I personally get more done at home, but a lot of people
Well, you don't have
don't.
the commute time also.
You don't have the commute time, although it's not too far from me. But I think, I'm always available to my team members if they need me. But if I'm sitting in the office with them, it's a lot of chit chat, and I just get more done when I'm by myself. But I know a lot of people feel they need to be in an office to focus. So I think it's good to have it for that too. And I love my manager. I love my colleagues. It's great to bounce ideas off people when you're taking a water break or whatever.
I absolutely agree. A lot of my partners and team members are scattered all over the place, but we connect,
Yeah.
text, phone, Zoom, as
Yeah.
we're doing now. So I did have one more question. Oh, so obviously, coming back to the whole EXP thing, if in the next 2 or 3 years, you could, just by taking your brand, which is the Kelly Robinson team, and had a different platform with AI technology and all that, but actually had hundreds of thousands of dollars more in marketing and a business model that built towards retirement and stuff. It's not really a question. I'm just talking, but it exists. Let's put it that way. And the
Yeah.
big news that I kind of have to share is we have something that is it's probably going to hit in the next day or two. So kind of breaking it early, depending on when you watch this. But EXP is launching something called Boost, which is $250,000 cost of moving fee. They're
Oh,
saying
wow.
for large teams. So it was 100% before commissions, but that's pretty easy to replicate. But the cash is something that EXP never did before. So
Yeah,
for
that's
EXP,
interesting.
it's pretty big. It's pretty big news.
Now, do they pay that as a bonus, or do they pay the costs for you?
I think it's a signing bonus.
Okay.
I mean, I'll have more details shortly, but it's a pretty big deal.
That's a
It's for
great thing.
larger team. It's for
Yeah.
larger teams, obviously,
Yeah, that's a
and
great
they
thing.
say culturally aligned teams, which means I don't know what it means. I guess it means that they have to understand the culture of EXP, and that culture is important. And I guess that makes sense.
It
I mean,
does. Yeah, you want congruency.
you speak of culture when you're talking in glowing terms of Compass. I speak to KW agents, and they talk a lot about culture. It's ingrained in them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Look, I always say I'm done moving. I'm happy where I am, and I genuinely am. I really don't have any bones to pick. The stock price is what it is, but who knows what the future holds, right? You have to be malleable people.
yeah, I mean, if Compass, it's not a franchise. It's one company like EXP in a way, right?
Correct.
So Compass is actually in that rare opportunity where they could adopt EXP business, part of the business model. They
Yeah.
could do it. Not everyone could. Coldwell Banker, I don't see how they could do it. Remax, Keller Williams. In fact, EXP was born from the pain point that Glenn Sanford had at Keller Williams. He wanted to grow his team larger. He wanted to grow it nationally. He never dreamed international. He just wanted to go over state lines without paying another cap to get to the 100% commission.
Yeah.
And it wasn't impossible, but it was too expensive and too convoluted. And he went one better. He went from profit sharing to revenue. So that's where we have agents making so much money.
Yeah, I bet.
Just listen to the other shows. We're not
I
going to
will.
go into it here. So Kelly, any question that I didn't ask that I should have asked?
Not that I'm aware of. I think you were pretty thorough, but I would love to have you on my podcast.
Sure.
You're
anytime.
absolutely delightful. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. As you are, Kelly.
Thank you.
So this is it for our show today. Please subscribe and like us anywhere you find us. You found us today, so that's the first step. And I once again want to thank my guest Kelly Robinson from the Kelly Robinson team at Compass. And Kelly, it was a great show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim.